as we go on, we remember all the times we spent together. Past me really wanted to make a compilation video set to that song.
I was going to say, can we afford this? Can we?
No, that's why I cut it off there because it's also the only words I know. Graduation by Vitamin C, if you are familiar. She's now a music executive over at Netflix. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
No.
she works at Netflix.
Good for her.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Space Show. I am your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, joined by the Admiral, noted space fan, Kerry Jackson. Hello, Kerry.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
I have a very special episode planned for us today.
A very special episode of the Space Show.
Because previously, while we did finish the original series, part of my plan was once we finished the original series, we were going to go back and watch the original pilot, The Cage, and then just kind of wrap up with some general the original series discussion. So I watched The Cage, which Captain Pike is held prisoner and tested by aliens who have the power to project incredibly lifelike illusions.
Now, let me ask you first. Did you watch the new special effects edition? Or was the old special effects edition on those DVDs I loaned you?
On the DVDs, so I had to watch the remastered, which blows because the effects were too good.
Too good.
The initial, where you're in space and the camera zooms in to the bridge from outside, which, what a cool effect. Would love to see that in its unremastered form.
It's terrible.
I am dying to see it. It looked too good.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere if you look.
Yeah. I know I can find it, but we follow Captain Pike as the captain of the Enterprise, and all of most of the footage from this episode you see were used in the Menagerie Part 1 and Part 2. And what's interesting is in kind of just doing some light Googling about the Cage versus the Menagerie, a lot of people really like the Cage more than the Menagerie, and they say the Menagerie feels too much like a clip show and not very cohesive, which is so interesting because I disagree with all these takes. I personally think it's because I'm such a diehard Strange New Worlds fan that I really enjoy seeing what happens to my best friend Captain Pike. I think it's a really overall, I think the concept is so fascinating because, Captain Pike once visited this planet, where we're not supposed to go, Talos 4, and because these Talosians are so powerful and blah, blah, blah. And, he, through whatever timeline, encounters this incident that renders him immobile and just stuck doing beep boops. But the concept of, Spock doing breaking Starfleet law for his friend.
It's the only law punishable by death.
To take him back to this place where we know, they create these lifelike illusions so that he can peacefully live out the rest of his days. I think that's such a cool concept.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's very humanitarian. I think it's very considerate and empathetic, which, I can't speak to the rest of the 60s, but what a concept, maybe?
Well, I mean, that's what makes, Star Trek for the time the most progressive show. I prefer the Menagerie two-parter myself to The Cage. I mean, The Cage is a fine episode on its own. If you watch it on its own, it's great. But I prefer, if I'm picking, the Menagerie two-parter because I get all of my friends. They're all there.
Yeah, and not only do you have all of your friends, but you also have a courtroom scene. And how fun are courtroom scenes?
Yes, indeed. A big courtroom scene.
The thing for me that I think I really struggled with in watching The Cage is it considered canon? Is this particular voyage amongst the stars actually part of the grander original series universe?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, it's referenced a lot. There's even callbacks on, let's see, Star Trek Discovery. There's a callback to it. And
there was an article I found that was like 7 things to consider when like comparing the menagerie to the cage or whatever. To clarify the timeline of all of the Talos 4 visits, the first one took place in the cage in 2254. This will make Discovery's impending visit the second one, since it's taking place in 2257. And the events of the menagerie, where Spock returns a badly damaged Pike, happened in 2267.
Okay, that makes sense.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, for whatever, it's the same thing that I kind of struggled with at the beginning of one of my favorite movies, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Ooh.
You know, about Nicolas Cage's life, about, you know, where does reality begin and where does the farce begin?
Oh, okay. I see where you're going. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, at the beginning of Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I kind of struggled with that, but then you kind of piece it together eventually. But yeah,
so you're
I was
wondering
thinking a lot about that.
So you're wondering how much of what we actually saw on Talos actually happened, because they are the masters of illusion. They're the Penn and Teller of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, David Copperfield, more likely.
And one of the, like, I think one of the biggest differences too is in the menagerie, when you know, all is revealed about how, you know, Vina is one of the stranded survivors from 11 years ago, and she was so badly injured and they didn't know how to put a human back together that they just make her live there in an illusion state because she's so crippled and deformed. But at the end of the menagerie, Pike leaves her, whereas in the cage, he still leaves, but the Talosians provide her with a fake Captain Pike to live with her. And that same footage is used in the menagerie when they return Captain Pike to Talos 4 to go live out the rest of his days.
Because he's wheelchair Pike. They bring him back, and then suddenly he's not. He's up and walking around and young and good looking again, and he's Jeffrey Hunter, you know.
He's just hot Jeffrey Hunter running around finally. Yeah, I thought that I don't know. I truly wish I knew why I felt so confused. I think I probably just have to go back and rewatch the menagerie to really piece it together.
I just finished moments ago. The last 20 minutes I've been, you know, small bites is how have to do. I've had such a crazy couple of weeks.
Well, and this episode was so long. It's like
a little longer, yeah.
Like hour and 2 minutes.
but I just finished it up, and it really is. It's a good episode. It's a really good Star Trek episode. But
yeah, which is so funny to me that NBC reportedly called it too cerebral and too intellectual and too slow with not enough action. So rather than rejecting the series outright, the network commissioned, in an unusual and at the time unprecedented move, a second pilot, which then became Where No Man Has Gone Before. And this was accepted in Star Trek: The Original Series began production.
And I guarantee you, if it hadn't been for Lucille Ball, if Lucille Ball hadn't been the head of Desilu Studios, they would have just said, no, your show sucks. If it was anybody else, I'm sure that they wanted to, you know, because CBS, very important network, and Lucy was a big part of the CBS success. And I think that they were just like, oh, we don't want to piss Lucy off. All right, let her have her space show. Yeah.
Part of me wishes I could be alive in a time when she was in charge of TV, like when everything was Lucy Town. And she was at the forefront of, like, you know, showing a pregnant woman on TV, you know, women started wearing pants on TV. How fun to see.
You've heard me wax on about Norman Lear, about how important Norman Lear was, not only to television, but to our American culture. He helped shape and make it evolve and change it for the better. Lucy was before Norman Lear, and she was there pushing and doing stuff. She really had a big hand in things. First of all, she was a woman in Hollywood. Boom. And she was doing it. She was doing the jobs that all the guys were doing. I mean, they were even talking about how at a rap party for Star Trek, she was there with the stagehands with a broom helping to clean up so that they could
love that.
so that they could have the wrap party. She was cleaning the set because they had run late on shooting. I mean, just phenomenal. And of course, there are documentaries about her out there, and then there's, I think, 2 TV miniseries that have been made about her. And
Well, and then there was that movie a couple years ago where Nicole Kidman
yeah,
was her.
that was.
Did you know, unrelated, did you know Nicole Kidman, not a native Australian, she was born in Hawaii and grew up in Australia.
Oh, the Mel Gibson effect.
She's an American.
Well, she's ours then. Okay.
We can claim her.
We'll let Australia keep Mel Gibson and we'll keep her.
Yeah.
Because she brings us the magic of the movies.
Yeah, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Yep.
Something else unusual about the cage, Spock is yelling a lot. He's a very different Spock than we know.
Well, I mean, the real story is that they didn't quite know what his background, what the Vulcans were all about, at that time. So he was just acting. He was just doing his thing. And it wasn't until later, because the idea was that Gene Roddenberry, first of all, wanted more aliens on the show.
Correct.
But he realized budget. Oh, we got a problem. Okay. So Majel Barrett, one of his girlfriends at the time. Oh, the great bird of the galaxy was a womanizer. Don't let anybody tell you any different. But Majel Barrett was the cold computer type,
Yeah.
And so when the execs started having a problem with the woman on the bridge thing, he went, I need my cold computer type in there to go against my Horatio Hornblower captain. Mm-hmm. And so he says, I can get my alien and my computer guy. We'll make it. That's what we'll do. We'll combine them. He wasn't happy about losing Majel Barrett for many reasons, but he got her back in a different role,
Majel Barrett, she, I think, is the real winner of Star Trek, the original series, because not only, she appears in that first pilot and then also, gets recast as Nurse Chapel, but she shows up as a voice actor in so many subsequent things.
Oh, yeah.
We always, remember Kirk and Spock, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, but I really think we got to give more credit to Majel Barrett because she has had such a storied career within Star Trek itself. And I mean,
oh, yeah.
Is she a Nepo wife? Maybe.
I like to think that she's, no, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know if just a little, but I wouldn't go completely that far because, she's very talented. And once you get to Deep Space Nine, you're going to see some real acting chops. Majel Barrett steps up.
She shows back up in Deep Space Nine?
Well, as you know, she's in Next Generation. Do you know this? Am I ruining things for you?
You're not ruining anything for me, but I would like to know.
Majel Barrett comes back as Luxana Troy's mom.
Okay.
In Next Generation. And then she comes back in Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
As an ambassador from Beta Z, and she's on quite a few episodes of Deep Space Nine. And you really get to see, especially in Deep Space Nine, some acting and comedic chops. Just amazing. The chemistry between her and Odo, because Odo is the ultimate straight man, almost more so than Spock. He's like Spock and McCoy had a baby and is putty. He's such a straight man that he is so, Quark is such a great foil for him, but then, did I say, her name is Luxana, Deanna Troi. Luxana is okay.
I was
got the names,
but I got you. I've seen the episode of The Next Generation where she does show up because I've never seen Riker look more emo in his whole life. The man goes to sit on his rock and be sad.
But the character of Luxana Troi comes back in a couple of iterations, and you really get to see Majel Barrett do her thing. And of course, she's the legendary computer voice. I've got this doohickey that I sent for. that it's just this little box that you plug into your electrical outlet, and then you plug whatever it is you want in there, like a lamp or something, into the box. And this is old tech, but it's just great because you can say computer, and it'll go working, and it's her voice. And you can say like turn the lamp on, and the lamp comes on. It's this illumination or whatever. It'll talk back to you in her voice.
Okay.
So it's very cool. But yeah, she's the computer voice in the original series. She's the computer voice in Next Gen. And then they kind of start to phase her out. Mm-hmm. And of course, she passes on eventually. But yeah. So yeah, very important part of Trek. And she, I think, kept Gene on track quite a bit. Because as we all know, Gene, womanizer, loved his beverages, I think she kind of kept him on track.
Behind every man is a woman doing most of the work. As of this recording, the new Lower Decks episode hasn't come out, but by the time this does come out, this week's Lower Deck is all about Betazoids, and I am not even remotely prepared for it. It's supposed to be one of the animators on the show said this was my favorite episode that we worked on. It's supposed to be hilarious, so we can
good.
come back to that next week.
Can't wait.
Yeah, but going back to Spock, after the pilot aired, the studio wanted Gene Roddenberry to get rid of him, to get rid of the guy with the ears. But like you said, Roddenberry wanted an alien presence on the bridge, and so he had to fight to keep him.
And the pointed ears and the eyebrows were the cheapest way to have an alien on the bridge, and so it just worked out.
So easy. I loved everyone's turtlenecks and sweaters. They look so cozy.
Toasty on the bridge.
Toasty on the bridge. Last week also, I did a little search for this, and I know I could just buy it online. But if anyone has a lead on this, Marvel Comics published a comic book series from February 1997 to June 1998 featuring Captain Pike and his crew called Star Trek Early Voyages.
Yes.
The first 3 issues feature Pike's yeoman and close friend Dermot Cusack, whose death on Rigel 7 is referenced in The Cage. The mission to Rigel 7 is shown in issue 3, including the Kalar attack on Pike at the Zemtar Fortress, a scene where Pike is forced to relive by the Telosians. Yeoman Mia Colt joins the crew in issue 4, which retells the events of The Cage from her point of view. Oh, which is so interesting because Yeoman Mia, who Lee mentioned that he loved, she has a line at the end of the episode because the whole point of the Telosians was to have, a male and a female human. And they reference earlier on in the episode, he's the Adam to Eve, and her last line is she's very brave because Pike is kind of mean to her. She asks, "Who would have been your Eve?" And I'm like, "Holy Toledo, bold."
What would it have been? Me? I mean,
Meek and mousy. But the Star Trek: The Early Voyages, it's not its own compendium. It's published as the Star Trek Omnibus Volume 2.
Oh, okay.
Which I have found online, but if anybody knows, like locally, if I could find it, I'd prefer.
Because you want to own it. You want the physical media. I just searched on the Marvel Unlimited, and there is no Star Trek there. So
yeah, and I would love to support local if possible.
I'll ask Jeff down at the Bolts. Maybe he can get it.
If they can get it, that would be awesome. Yes. But yeah, that's another thing. No bones, but we have Dr. Boyce.
Dr. Comeover. Okay, yeah.
Dr. Comeover, who instead of acting like a doctor, decides to pour Pike a drink, and his reasoning behind it is people will tell their bartender things that they won't tell their doctor, and that was clever. But it is interesting to see Pike. This is our first introduction to this character, and he is tired of being a captain. The previous missions that he has been on weigh on him so heavily that he's like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. I don't know that's how you want to introduce a character for a series about exploration vessel.
it was a bold choice. I mean, I kind of admire him for it because I mean the easier route would be to make this guy likable right away, and immediately you're introducing a character that we don't like and we have to get to know, and so it's really in a way it's kind of like real life that way if you think about it. But I did like the part. He says, "Tired, you bet I'm tired. Tired of deciding who lives and who dies." But then there's Dr. Comeover with his drink. You putting ice in that? I thought that was a great little moment.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, and then at the end, the line, the last thing he says to the doctor, he says, "Is it all ship's doctors are dirty old men?" Because even he was asking, yeah, who would have been the Eve, huh? Who would you have picked? Ship's
like
doctors are dirty old men. Yeah.
They kept that same kind of dynamic with Kirk and Bones. Just, with someone younger and hotter, I guess.
Debatable. Well, certainly compared to Dr. Comeover, yeah,
Younger,
DeForest Kelly
sure.
is DeForest Kelly is a steal compared to this guy.
Still quite curmudgeonly. That is all I have to say about the cage, unless you have anything else you want to say about the cage.
Susan Oliver. What can I say?
What a babe!
Again, life-changing for a young Kerry Jackson watching this show. She was just absolutely beautiful.
And to think of the scene where she's the Orion slave girl and one of Pike's compatriots says to think they like being taken advantage of.
And then what happens to those characters later on? Oh no, you're the one being taken advantage of, sir. They know exactly what they're doing.
I'm so glad. Oh, of course. I'm sure you have
course.
it. Just ready to roll.
And there she is.
Kerry has his Orion slave girl action figure.
And there she is, Susan Oliver.
Just beautiful.
Absolutely.
Which I really, to go back to Lower Decks, they have dived a lot more into the history of Orion, and wow, just incredible. I love everything to do with the Orions. It's insane, and it's not documented, and it remains undocumented, and I hope they keep it that way forever.
I remember watching these episodes as a kid, and again, Susan Oliver was life-changing, and how great is it that she got to have all those, different, she was a damsel in distress, then suddenly she's the in-charge Orion slave girl, and all of these different parts, and then she gets to play a withered, bitter old, So she got, in my opinion, she got the best role in this pilot.
Yeah, she got all kinds of costume changes.
She got costume changes. She got to do different things, where Jeffrey Hunter had to stand there, be stern and handsome.
But not only that, she's the one with all of the resources and knowledge, too, because, he was asking her questions about, being trapped on this planet with the Telosians, and she is the one who has all of the knowledge and has to dispel, information about how these people work.
And if you go back and look at the way she delivers her lines when Pike is asking her questions, she's like, well, it's like this, and and she's explaining it to him as though he's 5, but she's explaining it to him, and that doesn't seem like a line read to me. Just about everybody else on this show, when they have a line, it seems like a line read. But for Susan Oliver, it was so natural and just easily delivered. And this is how a person speaks, This is not how an actor speaks. This is how a person speaks. And that's why she was so great in this role. And then the Telosians, which were all women cast in the roles, all women actors.
What?
Yeah, that's what
I don't believe you.
It's true. So then they used male voices. Malachi Throne is the voice of the head keeper, the head Telosian. And they sent his voice through a synthesizer kind of a thing to change it slightly. But also fascinating.
These are women?
Yeah. Huh. That's what I have been taught. And
it.
The other interesting thing is the phaser. Well, the laser, excuse me.
Yeah.
We didn't call it a phaser then. I kind of like the design of the classic original laser.
So this laser that you're holding in your hand, is that the original from the Cage?
This is
style?
this is the Cage style one. And if I
Whoa.
had the batteries in it, it makes the original sounds, and it also does that twisty thing here to make the different sounds.
Crazy.
So it's a fun little toy. It's an old Playmates toy. It was only like $15 or something like that.
They're communicators too. I like. It was so interesting how they spent at least 5 seconds showing you the communicator, and it
Yeah.
looks very different from the communicator that we know in the original series. I personally thought this one looked cooler.
Oh, I'm a fan of the original series communicator. I have to be very partial when it comes
It's
to that.
smaller and it's more compact, but this one it had like a more of a clear body and a
Yeah,
larger flippy
it was
bit.
like it was like they took transistors and then poured acrylic. Leah'd be better at explaining this than me.
Yeah.
Some acrylic plastic into a mold or something. But the last thing I wanted to show you, and I dug this out for our Cage episode. This is not an actual Mego action figure. This is the people who make the Megos went, we never got a chance to make a Christopher Pike Mego. And so there it is, Jeffrey Hunter.
Our boy Jeffrey Hunter.
Do you see the likeness?
Very sharp features.
Very, very sharp. So this is the old
Yeah.
classic Mego action figure style in Jeffrey Hunter's sculpt,
Wow.
Captain Pike, which I always thought was very, very cool.
That is pretty cool.
So
So go on.
the overall series. Do
The
you want
overall series.
now that we've finished?
Now that we have finished, I just did some light perusing on the internet, and because it is Star Trek, there are thousands and thousands of pages of things, and
So many opinions.
I wanted to know what some people thought were the top 10 episodes of the original series. And
Okay.
I found a list from IGN from, I believe, April 2022. Yeah, April of 2022. And I liked their list the best compared
Okay.
to all of the other lists that I looked at. At number 10, they have Arena, our first introduction to the Gorn, a man in a lizard suit.
Kirk versus the Gorn, very influential on me.
Number 9, Amok Time, where
Also,
horny Spock.
but we learned more about the Vulcan people. We got into that whole thing, and I love the part at the end where Spock realizes he's been played, and it's like player acknowledges player. I get it.
Game
Hey,
recognized game.
game
Okay.
recognized game. That's it. Yeah.
The thing about this top 10 list, too, is a lot of the other lists I have looked at all have these same episodes, just in different orders.
Yeah.
But this is just the one I liked the most. Number 8, The Naked Time from season 1, where you sweaty, shirtless Sulu. And just
We're losing our minds. Yeah.
we're just all losing our minds. Number 7, The Enemy Within from season 1, where we first get which one do I shoot? We first get duplicate Kirk, and
Evil Kirk and good
you
Kirk.
know he's evil because he has eyeliner and is sweaty.
And he's lit from underneath. He's got the.
Number 6 on this list, where no man has gone before, the pilot of the second pilot.
It's the silver eyes. Yeah.
With the silver eyes, which, if you remember, we talked about it way back when, they used aluminum foil between two contact lenses.
Oh, man.
Ow, 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 ow.
Oh, Sally Kellerman, though. She's there.
Number 5, The Trouble with Tribbles. Love the Tribbles episode.
I can't wait for you to see the Deep Space Nine crossover. I can't wait.
I feel like I did see it when you did it at Broovies.
That's right. You did say that you saw that one. Okay.
But because of the way my brain works, I definitely don't remember.
Well, good. It'll be like seeing it for the first time.
Yeah. Number 4, Space Seed, which if I were to list my favorite episodes, I think I would put Space Seed at number 2
You
after
think?
the Menagerie. Yeah, I really
okay.
liked Space Seed.
Space Seed is a great episode.
quite enjoyed it.
I mean,
Introduces the idea of McCoy just waiting for death, ready for death at any time.
And I mean, my only complaint about that one is that the incredibly smart historian is so easily swayed by Khan.
Well,
she's a career Starfleet person, but she's just ready to throw away her career, go live on the planet with Khan. And we all know how that turned out.
Oy, oy, oy. Number 3, Mirror Mirror from season 2, where we get Spock with a goatee and everyone else is evil too.
That's how you know it's evil Spock when he has a goatee.
That's how you know it. Number 2, Balance of Terror, which is one of the first original series episodes I watched because when I started watching Strange New Worlds, I think you and Lee recommended this episode to me.
Yeah.
Where, we first meet the Romulans.
Yes. And that's essentially it's a submarine movie. That whole episode it's an old style submarine movie, run silent, run deep kind of a thing.
And number 1 on this list, which was also number 1 on many lists, The City on the Edge of Forever, the one where they go back in time and meet Edith Keeler.
That is the one that it inevitably gets brought up as the best episode.
When I watched this, I had 2 separate people tell me that this episode is listed as one of the best sci-fi episodes of anything of all time. And I in 2023 have definitely been spoiled by other sci-fi things, so I watched it and I was like, oh, really? That's it? But I understand why it is considered to be such a cornerstone of sci-fi entertainment.
Think about all of the things that it influenced after it appeared. The kids who were watching that went on to do other shows, and they were inspired by that. So that's the importance of it, really. It may seem like old trope storytelling right now, and it is now, but at its time, boy, that was a mind blower. That episode.
What, I don't know if I've asked you this. What would be your number 1? What would be your top episode?
That's a good, solid list. I'll say that. Those are good, solid lists. The one thing that pulls me out of saying that City on the Edge of Forever is the best episode is DeForest Kelley just takes me right out of it. He
coked up DeForest Kelley running through the past.
I wish that they would have given him more to say rather than shouting, "Assassins, you won't kill me. I won't kill you." I wish they would have given him
and crazed.
More. Yeah. I mean, once he comes down, he's great, but when he's crazed, McCoy, he just doesn't sell it to me. I just go, that's DeForest Kelley, and he's acting. But that's such a minor. Exactly. That's such a minor quibble, though. Such a minor quibble. It's like picking your favorite children. We can relate to that, right? I don't have a one favorite episode. If you gunned to my head and said you can only have one the rest of your life, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Yeah. Of course, you're talking to a guy who loves the Space Lincoln episode, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, that settles it. Kerry Jackson, Space Lincoln, his favorite episode.
Yeah. I mean, there's really only about 10 episodes that I despise. The rest of them I'm good with,
Yeah, that is true. There's only a few of them where I'm like, oh my God, can we wrap this up? Because there are so many of them are just, I really surprisingly quite enjoyed. In our Facebook group, Geekshow Gang, a fan, John Costin, shared with us that the theme song actually had lyrics. And I did not know that this theme song originally had lyrics. And I think they are kind of silly. But
they are. They're terrible.
There's an episode of the Nerdist podcast featuring Jack Black, and oh my God, what's Kyle? Tenacious D. Tenacious D on the Nerdist podcast, and they put the lyrics to the song.
They perform.
And I would like to share that with you now, and maybe I'll fix this in post.
Because somewhere out there's a record. Oh, here we go. Okay.
The rim of the starlight, my love. love is wandering in star flight. I know he'll find in star-clustered reaches love, strange love a star woman teaches. And I know his journey ends never. His Star Trek must go on forever. But tell him as he wanders the starry sea, remember me.
Somewhere out there is I think Nichelle Nichols recorded it, singing the lyrics. And somewhere also out there is a recording of Gene Roddenberry brought in one of his chippies to sing it. And so I know
I'll
those
see if
recordings.
I can find the Nichelle Nichols one, and if I can, I'll put it at the end of this episode. But if not, sorry, you won't know until you finish this episode.
Ooh.
But I like the Tenacious D version because it really, I mean, even if I listen to the original theme, I'm very much a fan of that like atomic retro 50s early 60s it's like style of living. And
well, you and I need to go to Palm Springs then. You and I need to go on a little trip to Palm Springs and just experience all of that. I would this is going to sound so not. I want to go visit all the antique shops in Palm Springs.
Yes.
My wife
I don't know
forbids it because she knows I'll bring home a ton of stuff. But
uranium glass as far as the eye can see.
Yes, I
don't
love
know
that
if you
style.
Saw pictures. The Christmas village that I got last year was it. I called it my Florida retirement community because it is all just that atomic retro style of like house. They're so cute, Kerry. I'll see if I can find pictures, but they're so freaking cute. You can't even believe it.
There used to, a long time ago, back when the Venetian in Las Vegas opened, they had a bar in there, and the entire theme was that style. And I was there anytime I was in Vegas, and I was in Vegas a lot in those days because Sue JetBlue flew down there, and so we just hop on anytime we were in Vegas just about every weekend. And I was at that bar every early evening because I just could not get enough of that style and that design. It was just fabulous. Anyway.
Yeah, show me a good tiki bar. Ooh, baby. The last thing I want to share with you, our good friend Jake Black, friend of the program and my Star Trek informant.
He's in the industry, so yeah.
He's in the industry. He's been such a fun companion to have during this journey. He sent me a book that he had published in 2016, the Starfleet Logbook, which is find out if you have what it takes to rise through the ranks of Starfleet. And it's just a fun little like activity book about, being in Starfleet and doing stuff in Starfleet.
What are the physical requirements?
Dios mío, I
always worry that I wouldn't be able to pass a test like that.
That's Kerry, sincerely, that's kind of why I started working out, because if I want to be ready for Starfleet, I have to be combat ready. But there's like fun quizzes, a cadet's log, what's your experience like at Starfleet Academy?
Fun.
Your graduation party planner. Letter home. There's stuff you can cut out and color and put on display.
That. Oh, I know that's for children, but I want that.
I know. I can ask him to send you one. Fun activities to do. There's just a whole.
Jake's a good guy. He I know he worked on Ninja Turtles as well, but he is ultimately a Star Trek fan and and a wrestling fan.
But, I believe he writes for WWE. And this most recent Star Trek Day, the segment with the drag queen, he produced that segment. And also when they were asking normies on the street, what they liked about Star Trek, he produced that segment as well. But he's just been so cool to talk to during all this because he has all of the knowledge.
Is he still living here? Has he moved
He's
away?
in Connecticut. I
Connecticut
think.
now. Okay, because I know he
Yes.
was living here for a while. So
Yeah, I think he's in Connecticut. But anyway, big thank you to Jake for this Starfleet logbook that I will treasure absolutely. I told him it's missing a signature from the author, and he was like, the only reason I didn't sign it was because I didn't have a pen that would show up. So
get a silver Sharpie, sir.
yeah, so hopefully in the future when I see him, I'll have this and he can sign it for me.
Yes, and if he's listening to this, I hope you're feeling better.
But that's truly, fully, 100% the original series. Truly a blast. I've loved every second of it.
I'm glad you came to church, and I'm glad you're such a
Yeah, sorry. You
rabid
created
member.
such a monster. And yeah, instead of just having an existential crisis, I decided to make Star Trek my whole personality. So it's been working out pretty well so far.
Well, before you announce the new direction of the Space Show, I wanted to say thank you for letting me participate. Thank you for attending church services. Thank you for joining, because this show. Okay, you have to remember, grew up on a farm. Didn't know many people. Didn't think I'd ever get out of that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this show. It inspired so many people to do so many things.
Just truly, it's such a remarkable show. I've been trying to pitch it to so many people, and a friend of mine, I was talking to her about it last night, and I was like, I'm being honest with everybody. I'm like, yeah, I'm making this my whole personality. I have, a lot of stressful things happening in my life, and it's been such a balm. And she's like, what do you like? Like, what do you like about it? Like the costuming, like the characters, what it is. And I'm like, honestly, it's just good, and not like quality wise. It's good, like morally and ethically. And it's just such an ideal society, and everybody is just good. And the thing that, and I share Captain Pike's speech in the first episode of Strange New Worlds as kind of like, hey, this was my gateway drug. Watch this and let me know, hey, if you vibe with this, this is what the show is like.
Strange New Worlds is the best introduction, I think, to a modern audience, to the whole thing. Because if Strange New World hooks them, they get curious, and then they go seeking out, and they find all the other shows, and maybe they'll go right to Enterprise, or maybe they'll go right to Deep Space Nine. Who knows?
But there's so much that you can dive into.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the thing for me is like, Strange New Worlds, Pike is the best boss. He implicitly trusts everyone on his crew. If somebody says we must do XYZ, he doesn't question it. He trusts their judgment.
Yeah.
If someone does have a question about something, or someone messes up something, there's no punishment. There's no harsh come down. There's no anger involved. There's a lot of understanding and the desire to know more, right? The whole thing is, your 5-year mission to explore and just learn more. That's me, baby. Like, that's why I say, if I was given the opportunity for immortality, I would take it immediately, not because I want to live forever, but because I just want to learn more about everything forever. And that's what I just love every second of it.
I growing up in this small town, I had so many of my friends and people who were content to stay there. They got a job at the box factory and they stayed there. Oh, we travel. We go to Disneyland or Mexico, and
there's so much more.
And that's what this show taught me, is the importance of exploring. And for me, that's been travel. And when I travel, I don't like to do the touristy things. I want to get out there and just wander without a schedule or without a guide. And I want to meet the locals. I want to talk to them. I want to communicate with them. I want to learn about their way of life. And that's kind of what the show inspired me to do. So, I mean, in all my trips to, Russia, France, Japan, Amsterdam was like a real United Federation of Planets. There was such an amalgam of different people in Amsterdam, and just to talk to all of them, Greece, all the places that I've been, talking to the locals, getting to know them, speaking with a Russian about, isn't it great that you have freedom now? And he says, well, not so much, Yeah, okay, I can say whatever the hell I want, but I got no food on my table for my family. You hear things like that, You talk to a guy from France about, aren't your taxes really high? And he goes, yeah, they are. But I get all of this, and he starts listing, college. He gets I have all of this access to, and so it's worth it, Understanding their motivations, learning about different cultures. Like I said, Amsterdam was such a great amalgam because there are so many different people from everywhere there, and they've established communities throughout this city. So you could walk one section of Amsterdam and go from, an Ethiopian section to, who knows what, and going into each of these places and talking to people and learning about them. That's what this show inspired me to do. And that's why I tell people, travel. And when you travel, don't do the touristy kind of thing. Talk to just wander. Just pick a city and walk up and down the street and get to know people.
Live a day as a local and do weird little walks. Like, that's where you learn the most about your especially even in your own communities. I saw something once, probably a BuzzFeed article, where I was like, go on weird little walks in your neighborhood, because that's where you're going to learn the most about what's in your neighborhood. For me also, I get so excited talking to other Star Trek fans, more excited than I feel like I've ever been. Like when I got way into Doctor Who, when I got way into Marvel, when I got super duper into Star Wars, I've never been more excited to talk to other people than I have been when it comes to Star Trek. When we were at Comic-Con this last weekend, seeing other people in Star Trek cosplays, I felt like a puppy on his first day out. I was like, I also like Star Trek, and would you be interested in talking about Star Trek? Because I quite enjoy it, and maybe we could get along. And I think too, because, people who do enjoy Star Trek also have that same kind of understanding about how our place in the universe and how to exist within it, and are, more empathetic. There is a video out there I started to watch, I haven't finished, about, why do conservatives like Star Trek?
Which I just don't get.
Insane. And there are people who will say, well, I like Star Trek before it got woke. And
day one,
when was that? Because since day one, Star Trek has been woke. So please point me and show me on the doll where Star Trek has been conservative.
Yeah. Show me the militant Star Trek, please. Even the most militant of Star Trek is, I'm afraid, woke. Sorry.
Yeah. Which we can only get to, we can only get to the post-scarcity, post-capitalist society by exhibiting these morals and examples that we see in the show, right? Like, everybody does not get mad at one another. People might get frustrated that something's happened, but we've learned to use our words and talk through things and not react by hitting everything with a stick first.
Yeah, and greed isn't the motivator anymore,
What a life. Can anybody please tell me what that must be like?
Exactly. It's bettering ourselves and the people around us that is the motivator, and the galaxy, making it's empathy. And that's woke, I'm afraid, folks. So sue me. If you want to call me woke, go right ahead. Star Trek did it when I was a kid. It's not because it's a fad. I've always been this bleeding heart liberal because of Star Trek and punk rock and you name it. Star Wars has even made me that way.
Well, and that's the thing too. You gotta, when people say something is woke, you have to start asking them to define what they mean by that.
Exactly.
You can make them call themselves out and just say, "Oh, it actually, it's just don't like it."
I mean, I know so many people who will bring out their religion as their thing that made them who they are. And I just say to them, look, on one shoulder I got an Avengers logo, because Marvel Comics made me think the way that I think. I'm going to get a Delta shield on this arm, because Star Trek made me think the way that I think. Call me woke if you want. I don't give a flying fuck, you know?
Oh, yeah, I am so excited to eventually get a Star Trek tattoo because holy moly.
Let's go together.
Let's go get Star Trek tattoos in Vegas. Go to a tiki bar. Go live at our best 60s lives.
Yes.
So now that we have finished the original series, I talked about it in the last episode, but we are going to move on to the animated series. Kerry, I am sorry. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Okay, here's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
All right. Because I watched the first episode. And like I said, I finished it, and I said aloud to whoever was in the room, the dogs and Sue, I said, I don't think I can do this, Rebecca. I just don't. But I started the episode 2, and I'm 10 minutes in, and I'm like, okay. Maybe this is not the chore that I think it is. Because I've not seen the animated series. That's something that people are totally surprised because they know what a Star Trek fan I am. I never watched the animated series because I was such a snob at that age about animation, and I was a snob about Star Trek, I hate to say.
Well, it's only going to be 4 episodes. Don't you worry. And I'm sure we'll just blaze right through them. And if we absolutely listen, I'm in control. I am the captain of this ship. If we absolutely hate this, we don't have to finish them.
You make the call.
I would like to, but also I haven't watched them yet. I've only been watching the short treks that have been coming out on YouTube, and those are rough.
You and I disagree on those.
Well, the first one I was like, oh, okay, all right. The second one I quite enjoyed, the holiday party, and then this third one, with the worst contact with the booger people. Not a fan, honestly.
I loved the first one. And then the second one.
The first one to me felt like it was put together by someone who has tried to make jokes in the writer room, and people have gone, "Hey, you can't do that anymore." And he was like, "Fine, and then made a whole 3-minute Star Trek short about it. That was the feeling I got.
I enjoy them because, well, they're not canon, first of all, and second of all, just
Also, canon. Toss can't
have some jokes
about canon.
Have some fun. That's why I like Lower Decks so much. I also love Lower Decks, the fact that it is canon and that there are jokes.
Yes. Yeah. I had a moment where my husband was playing World of Warcraft with some friends, and he was telling them about me watching Star Trek and how cool it has been for him to also like kind of catch episodes as I watch them, and how he thinks the whole experiment that we're doing is so fun. And I was like, oh wow, what a great joy hearing my husband talk about me liking Star Trek. We'll watch the animated series and then the original series movies.
That's the order? Okay.
Yes,
I'm sure you've got a spreadsheet. I know.
Yeah, I'll share with you my spreadsheet. It's a doozy. But yeah, that's the plan for now. But
I
any
can't
last
wait
words?
for you. I just want you to see the motion picture so bad. I'm the only person on the planet that still loves it.
We'll get there. But until then, we will boldly go where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Thanks, everybody.